They used to consume what they have, less than what they have. In my generation, we used to consume what we have, but coming generations, they started to consume what they don't have. So how does it happen? It happens by using loans, right? By borrowing money. So of course, these things we have to pay. In economics, as same as in other fields, you have to pay for every decision you make. May it be consumption, may it be saving. So actually in economics, and the topic today, we are going to cover ISLM model. We will look at the equilibrium between saving and investment, and also liquidity and money. Well, but before that, when it comes to the demand, let us look at the definition of demand. A household's decision, and household, when we say household, it might be a family, it might be friends who are staying in sharing same unit, or it can be also one person. So the smallest unit of household is a person who has to make decision, on what to consume and what to save, right? And making decision between two products as well. So household's decision about what quantity of a particular output or product to demand or to consume also depends on a number of factors, including when you are demanding something, like when you are buying something, basically when you're consuming something, when you are preferring, let's say, KFC to McDonald's, when you are preferring Levi's jeans to Lee jeans, when you are preferring to use gasoline car which is car which is using gasoline, or car which is which will consume electrics, it will depends on many factors. It's not just your preference. So first, it is the price of the product in question. Can you afford that product, or have you get a loan, or you can get financing to afford that product? So the first thing will be the price of product. So sometimes we will go for cheaper products, sometimes we will go for the more expensive products. So it's the price is the first factor which will decide on what you are going to consume, which will help you in decision making. The second one is income available to the household. And you will see as income increases or income decreases, the behavior of our consumption, the types of products we are consuming will change by time. Now, the next one is the household's amount of accumulated wealth. Income is not only enough, so we have also looked at the accumulated wealth. Let us say, even if there is a changes in income, let's say the person like was fired from his work or temporarily doesn't have any sources of income, but if he has accumulated wealth, it will help him or her to maintain the same level of the consumption, right? So number 4, the prices of other products available to the household, so which are substitute products or also complementary products. Then number 5, the household's tastes and preferences. Now, this one is very much important, right? Taste and preferences, like as I say, when you are going to, when you are making preference between having your dinner in KFC or McDonald's, taste and preferences play a big role. If you are the person who is not eating beef, for example, definitely will go for KFC. But if your taste goes for the consumption of Big Mac, hamburgers with beef, then of course you will go to McDonald's. And this is in many things. If you are the person who is non-covered, for example, you will not be interested in buying like scarves, or you will not be even looking at these shops, right? And or let us say you are playing tennis, or you are doing some kind of sports. And if you are not doing that kind of sport, you will not go into the sport markets or markets which are selling the products, so on and so forth. So taste and preferences and other factors which will be influencing your decision making on what to consume. And the last one, and very much important, especially for today, and also we will relate it to our model today, the household's expectations about future income, wealth, and prices. Sometimes, because in classical theory of demand, law of demand, we say that if a price goes up, the demands will go down. They are negatively correlated. Therefore, the slope of the demand curve is negative, because cheaper something, more you will demand that. More expensive, less you will demand it, right? However, if there is an expectation, let us say, for example, now we are approaching to Eid, and we all want to buy new outfit, right? Again, I will give example with Levi's jeans. Normally, you know that the price of Levi's jeans is around 100 or like 50 USD. Okay, so, and you know that approaching, so today, like in the beginning of Ramadan, the price was inflated to 52 USD. But you know that more we are approaching to Eid, the price will go even up to 60 USD. So your expectation, even though the price is higher than yesterday, that tomorrow it will be more higher. It will be higher than today. So you will go and consume that good if you want it. So expectations, your expectations on the future behavior of the product's price, on your income, and so on and so forth, also plays big role in decision making. Of course, if we have like face-to-face class, I will ask questions here, but mashallah, we have very big number of students, and it will be difficult now to ask questions one by one, so I will continue with my presentation. Now, when we look at the quantity demanded, as we said, we continue with the demand in product, the amount or number of units of a product that a household would buy in a given period if it could buy all it wanted at the current market price. This is a definition of the quantity demanded. So again, it is the amount of a product that a household would buy in a given period if it could buy all it wanted at the current market price. This is quantity demanded. For example, if I can afford, let's say you have a baby and you are going to buy baby feed for your baby, right? And you are not going to buy, even if I give you for free, you are not going to buy more than you need it. So the quantity demand actually is the amount you need plus the money you can pay. So what you can afford. So you actually, this is what you can, what you afford when you can afford the amount you can you need. That's a quantity demanded. Then it is important to focus on the price change along with the ceteris paribus, and you know that from that we have some concepts. I think someone already listening and moving. It is important to focus on the price change along with the ceteris paribus. And ceteris paribus is one of the concepts you have learned in first of your classes, which means that all things being equal. Because in economics, economics is a science, yes, but you cannot include all factors. For example, when I am looking at the success of students or academic achievement of students, and I want to create a model, okay? I want to see how the time or time of study or like hours you spend for studying certain subject affects effect on the final exam marks. Okay, this is my model, because in economics you will constantly creating models. So I cannot consider all factors. It is impossible. So the only thing I will consider, for example, in this model, your academic achievement versus time you spend for studying, right? But, so what I can say, as a result, I can say that, oh, okay, for example, Mr. Ahmed studied 10 hours per week, and he got 70 points from his final exam. On the other hand, Miss Aisha studied only like 2 hours per week, and she got, and her result is, let's say, 40 points for her final exam. This is a model. So as a result of this model, why we create models in economics? To explain, right? To explain why something is happening and what are the reasons triggering that result. So from here, I can tell you that, oh yeah, if you are studying more time you are spending on studying, better will be your result. So this is very simple model. And what we again say, we say that it is ceteris paribus, all things being equal. But if I want to take other factors, I will see that maybe Aisha, in our example, she has to work to pay her school fees, to pay for her accommodation. Maybe she's staying away from her parents. Meanwhile, Ahmad, he has more comfortable life. He's living very close to the campus, and he has scholarship, which is covering all his expenses. And he can only focus on his work, right? So then I can create another model, how financial well-being of a student affects or influence his final marks. See, so when you take only one or few, we always say in economics, it is must-have, guys, to say that it is ceteris paribus. Ceteris paribus, all other things are equal. So here, it is important, again, I'm highlighting, to focus on the price change along with the ceteris paribus or all else is equal assumption. So I'm just looking at the price change with the things that all other things like my expectations, the level of income, everything is staying stable. Okay. Well, now let us move to the next. Changes in quantity demanded versus changes in demand. That is very much important when it comes to the supply, to the demand, and we will, when we move to the other curve, which is IS and LM curve, it will be same, because we have changes in prices, like moving to slide number 3, we mentioned that we have the price of the products in question. This is one factor, and we have another factors such as income available, amount of accumulated wealth, other products, prices, and also tastes and preferences, which might change. For example, you were consuming meat every week, and suddenly you become a vegetarian. So you are not going to consume meat anymore, even though the price is very cheap, right? Meanwhile, law of demand dictates that if the price is cheaper, you are going to demand more. So it's not always that way, right? That's why we say when we talk about the price changes on the slope, demand slope, other things have to be ceteris paribus, which is they have to stay stable. There is no change in your taste and preferences. There is no change in your expectations, so on and so forth. So now coming back to the slide number 5, we have two things which will happen to your demand curve. First, there might be changes in price. In this case, we will just move along the line, and I believe you can imagine right now, visualize the demand curve, which I will come later. I will show you with examples. And second, changes in other factors which will affect the shift of demand curve. Sorry, why I move so fast. So changes in other factors such as income, accumulated wealth, your tastes, preferences, the prices of other goods, substitute or complementary, as well as the changes in your expectations. So this will affect demand curve. It will not just, you are not going move through the line, you will shift it to the left, to the right, or to the left. Thus, we say that an increase in the price of Coca-Cola, for example, is likely to cause a decrease in quantity of Coca-Cola demanded. So if I'm going to increase the price of something you are consuming, you will consume it less. right? For example, I am sure that you have observed that sometimes during the times of high inflation, even firms which are producing, let's say, producing tofu, or company which is producing butter, if the price is increasing, price increase means you can afford to buy less, right? Inflation means you can afford buying less, given all other factors, ceteris paribus. Again, if the price increase 5%, but your income increasing 20%, still you will buy more. That's why we say it's ceteris paribus. Then some companies, they will change the package. For example, if the butter normally sold in packages of 250 grams, now they will produce smaller packages, like with 100 grams, 50 grams sometimes, so people can afford it, because you still want to consume that good. So that is also change from the production side, but from the consumption side, you will start, of course, to consume less, given that your income is not changed. So because if your income changes higher, if changing your income is higher rather than changing the price of the good, of course, it will not affect, even it will be affecting positively your spendings, your expenditure. Well, however, we say that an increase in income is likely to cause an increase in the demand of most goods, which is true. However, not always. You know that we have some goods, even if they are given for free, you are not going to buy more than you buy normally. And the best example is salt, right? And on the other hand, we have some goods, even the price is very high, you will never stop from consuming it. And especially if it is essential for your livelihood, like if there is kind of medicine, like let's say the person is diabetics and he has to consume insulin to survive. So even though whatever changes I will make in price of insulin, that person will keep consuming it. So that are perfectly elastic and perfectly inelastic type of products. And this one's example for perfect inelasticity, right? You know about that, that any change in the price of product will never affect its demand, but perfectly this is inelastic. On the other hand, the products, if I change a little bit the price, you can stop consuming it. That one will be perfectly elastic. Well, so now continuing here, so we just focus on the quantity demanded, and given ceteris paribus, that other things will be equal. Well, now moving to the next slide, price and quantity demanded, the law of demand. Now we have demand schedule and we have demand curve. Demand schedule shows how much for a given product a household will be willing to buy at different prices for a given time period. Meanwhile, the curve, a graph which illustrates how much of a given product a household would be willing to buy at different prices. So we will use a lot these graphs. And in economics, basically, guys, you have to be very native with reading graphs and tables. That will help you a lot, especially when you will be interpreting the product. Now, coming to the most interesting part, to the figure 1, which illustrates the demand curve of the guy called Alex. And we have also Alex demand schedule. So this one is demand schedule. Meanwhile, this is demand curve. When I'm talking about demand curve, it means I'm talking about the graph. But schedule is more table, which will show, I mean, actually, basically, the curve it's a graphical illustration of the schedule. Now, let us look what is happening to the Alex consumption behavior when the price of gasoline is changing. So prices are given per gallon in USD, and the quantity demanded is gallons per week. The relationship, so you know that on a demand curve, when we are showing demand and supply, we have price on the vertical, on the vertical axis, and we have quantity on the horizontal axis. So here, the price, when the price is 8 USD, Alex is not going to consume anything. It's too much expensive for him. It's not affordable for him. So here we have to match when you are moving it to this part, when you are drawing your demand curve, it means at the price 8, as a quantity demanded will be 0. Coming to the next part, once the price is dropping, now it's the good is becoming more affordable for the Alex. When the price of gasoline decreases to 7 USD, then he will start to consume 2 gallons per week. And you can see here, right, when the price is 7 USD, the quantity consumed is 2 gallons. Then when it is 6 USD, the price is 6 USD, the consumption level will go to the 3 gallons. And the most important here, when I give it for free, so it will go, of course, in a way that less is price, more the consumption, but it has also a limit. It means if I give you, for example, you are coming to McDonald's, and I tell you that you can eat as much as you want, and just for to pay like for 2 hamburgers, and I open the buffet for you, you can eat as much as you want. You know that there is a limit you can consume. You cannot eat everything, right? Same with all the consumption products. We cannot, there is always the point of saturation in consumption, which means that even if I give that product for free for you, you will not consume it anymore. There is a maximum limit you can consume. You cannot consume more. And actually, for example, when you are going to hotels which are offering you buffet dinner, they know that. Or, for example, when you go to IKEA, which says that you just buy a cup for hot drink or cold drink, and you can refill it in unlimited numbers, they know that the people who are structuring this marketing strategy, basically they know that there is a limit of your consumption, right? You cannot drink all the coffee, you cannot drink all the tea, you cannot eat all ice creams, and so on and so forth. So here it means that when the price is 8 USD, it's too much expensive for Alex, which is unaffordable. Therefore, the quantity he's going to consume will be equal to 0. Meanwhile, another point, if I'm going to give this good to the Alex for free, he's not going to pay. The maximum he can consume will be 26 gallons per week, right? It means even though if he will use his car non-stop 24/7, he can consume maximum 26 gallons. That's it. And all the marketing strategy will start here. All the models will start here because people, yes, we have unlimited wants, but these wants tend to be saturated. Again, I am highlighting in a given time period. For example, of course, I can drink only, let's say, 4 cups of coffee per day, but during that 2 hours which I spend in IKEA. But again, tomorrow I want that coffee again. After tomorrow, I want that coffee again, because our wants are periodic, right? Even though they are saturated or met today, I'm going to have the same wants, the same need tomorrow again. Therefore, in economics, we say that the number of goods you can consume in a given period of time, it's not lifelong. So here, for the Alex, we highlight that it is a gasoline per week, right? per week, how many gallons he can consume per week, and so on for forth. Actually, I can take here this yellow to highlight. Can I? Okay. Now, this is the schedule presentation and of demand, and here we have the curve of demand. This is important. And again, why the demand curve is negative, has a negative slope? Because there is a negative correlation between demand and price. Negative correlation means that once the one variable, the value of one variable increasing, the value of another variable is decreasing. Increasing price means less quantity demanded, and vice versa. Well, now let us look here. The relationship between the price, P, and quantity demanded, Q, presented graphically, is called demand curve. So this is demand curve, and later on you will say as a curve, which will be same representation. So once you get the concept from here, it will be easier for you to understand the rest of the models. Next, demand curve have a negative slope, right? Indicating that lower prices caused quantity demanded to increase. Again, negative correlation in economics means that once the value of one variable increases, the value of another variable decreases. On the other hand, positive correlation means the variables will increase, they move together. Okay, if one is increasing, the next is increasing. For example, more you eat, more weight you will gain. So here we have positive correlation. Less I eat, less weight I will gain, right? But when it comes to the sports and weight, they are negatively correlated. More hours I spend in a gym, so less will be my weight. Less hours I spend in gym, more will be my weight. Ceteris paribus, given that all other factors are equal. Well, note that Alex's demand curve is blue. Demand in product markets is determined by household choice. Again, demand in product markets is determined by household choice. So here, taste and preferences makes a lot of play a lot of role, as well as the level of income. Well, of course, when coming to the level of income, here we don't have much changes, but here we will have a lot of changes. So it might be not affordable for Alex to spend $8 per week for the gasoline, but for someone else it will be much affordable. So there is not much problem. So income and wealth accumulated will also have a lot of influence. Now, price and quantity demanded, the law of demand continued. Demand curve slopes downwards. Law of demand says that the negative relationship between price and quantity demanded, ceteris paribus, as price rises, quantity demanded decreases. As price falls, quantity demanded increases. During a given period of time, all other things remaining constant. So when we talk about the law of demand, this is actually what you have to know, that the price will increase when the demand will increase when price is decreasing, and vice versa. And this also creates a negative slope of the curve. And this is a law of demand. It is reasonable to expect quantity demanded to fall when price rises, ceteris paribus, and to expect quantity demanded to rise when price falls, ceteris paribus. Again, we have to highlight that all other things are equal here. There is no changes in other factors. So one more thing we have to remember, that the demand curve has a negative slope, which we have explained the reason of that, right? Well, other determinants of household demand. Now, we are coming to an interesting part. Not only price will be influencing the amount you are going to demand for the good. So we have also another factor, which is income and wealth. income, your monthly income, and wealth generated or wealth you have from your parents, so on and so forth. Here, we have to now differentiate goods into two groups, which are normal goods and which are inferior goods. So like normal goods and inferior goods. Like normal goods, the clothes you are buying from, again, like you want to buy jeans from Levi's, this is normal good. Meanwhile, inferior goods will be maybe buying jeans in the second-hand market. Okay. So normal goods, now look at the definition. And economics, not only in economics, actually in all your subjects, guys, my suggestion to you to delve into the definition first. You have to be able to define all concepts, else it will be mixed up, messed up when it comes to the understanding later on the whole concept. So first, we always delve into the definition. Once we are clear with the definition, it is easier. It's easier to understand. The things will find their place in your mind. So normal goods, defined as goods for which demand goes up when income is higher, and for which demand goes down when income is lower. Like we can give examples from outfit, we can give examples from the nutrition. For example, let us say when it comes to the beef, which you buy like fresh beef from the wet market. On the other hand, you have frozen meat. So as my income will rise, I will go and consume more fresh meat or fresh fish, or I will buy branded clothes, right? As my income is increasing. So my demand for normal goods will increase. So if your demand is increasing, it means once your income is increasing for same good, then you can classify that type of goods as normal goods. On the other hand, this is very much interesting. We have also inferior goods. What are the inferior goods? They are defined as goods for which demand tends to fall when income rises. This is now paradox, because law of demand says that once your income is increasing or once the price is lower, you have to demand more, right? Once I give you for lower price, it means you have to buy more. That was the law of the demand. However, now we have to differentiate the goods. For example, if normally when I was like, let us say, the times when there was a shortage in income or there was unemployment, in times of war, for example, people will go for inferior goods, right? You will buy that. You will buy clothes from second-hand market. You will go to the restaurants, which you know that they are lower quality and they are not using that good material or ingredients to cook. But when your income rises, you are not going to consume more of these goods. Vice versa, you may even cut the consumption of that goods because now you have better income and you can afford normal goods. Okay, so inferior goods, once your income rises, the demand for them will decrease. Even though the price, there is a changes, that they are more cheaper and so on and so forth. Well, now, another thing which is a determinant for the demand, other than income and wealth, we have also prices of other goods and services. And here, we again have to classify goods into few other categories, such as substitutes, perfect substitutes, complements, and complementary goods. And here, actually, you can also understand if you are a producer, okay, because we will have same for the supply topic of supply. As a producer, you can play with the price. Now I will show how. So substitutes, what is substitute? It is defined as goods that can serve as replacement for one another. When the price of one increases, demand for the other increases. Again, goods that can serve as replacements or for one another. When the price of one increases, demand for the others increases. Okay, let us say substitute. Okay, now before moving to perfect substitute, for example, you have now let me give you example again from food. Since it's Ramadan, I all my examples coming from kitchen. Let us say you have two brands of ketchup. Okay, like you have brand A, brand B. You have Calve ketchup and you have Heinz ketchup. So if the company Heinz will decide to increase the price of their ketchup, like let's say 2 times. Let's say it was, now I'm not very much familiar with rupiahs, the prices in rupiah. Let me give you example in USD, okay, like it's international currency. We will also touch a little bit today. So let's say it's increased from 1 USD to 2 USD. Meanwhile, the price of Calve ketchup kept same. It's still one USD. So people, if I increase the price of Heinz, people will start to demand more of Calve. Why? Because they are substitute goods. I can't get the same benefit from the substitute good which I am getting from the other one. Of course, maybe Heinz is better than Calve in some ways, but it's ketchup, right? It is a ketchup. That's it. Or same goes like, for example, there are 2 brands of soy sauce. And if one brand decided to increase its price, people will demand more of the other brand. So that is the thing about substitute. When it comes to the perfect substitutes, these are identical products. Okay, identical products means, for example, you have tomato of one brand, you have tomato of second brand, but they are again bringing these tomatoes from the same farm, but just putting in different packages. So playing with prices for perfect substitutes is even more difficult. Where we can play with prices, because giving price also where you know the things like monopoly, dictating the price in the market, it will go more for the goods which doesn't have substitute, like oil. For a time being, oil is except of gasoline, maybe like gas, liquid gas, petroleum, except of electrical cars, which are another substitute for a long time in history. We don't have substitute for oil. Therefore, whatever the price changes in oil prices, you have to consume it. You need to consume it, all right? Less or more. Maybe you will not go for leisure, you will not spend for leisure, you will not just jalan in the weekends, but yet if to commute to your work, you need to use car, especially if there is no public transport. Even if so, if you are using public transport, the price will be changed. The tickets will be increased, so on and so forth. Now, substitute goods. This is important thing, because once you don't have substitute for your good, you can play with the price as much as you want. But if you have perfect substitutes, you cannot play with price at all. Same goes for you guys. Like now you are students, you are going to graduate, right? Now maybe here I will give you a little bit life experience. So if there are many graduates like you don't have any feature outstanding, like you don't have foreign language or other skills, you are just one, can be with a product like a perfect substitute. The employer can change you with anyone easily. Then the price, which is the wage, which is the salary we are receiving, will be less. But if you educate yourself, prepare yourself in the way that you have like skills which other people don't have, means you don't have substitute. And here, in that case, you will be the one who will dictate the price for your work, which is coming in forms of the wage or salary, right? So economy, actually, the subject you can use in your everyday life. It's not just for consumption, it's in everyday life decision making. Well, now moving to the next type of goods, which are complements and complementary goods. Goods that go together. For example, ketchup together with spaghetti, right? Or soy sauce together, or wasabi together with sushi. I'm not going, for example, because the only place I consume wasabi when I'm eating sushi. I'm not going to buy wasabi if I'm not planning to have sushi, right? So these are complementary goods. They're going together. And especially when you go to markets, you will see that these complementary goods, they will be put in same place. Like, for example, when you are buying celery, it will be coming together with milk. They will be in same place because they are complementary goods. So interesting thing now, again, we are looking from economical side with the demand side. So goods that go together, a decrease in the price of one results in an increase in demand for the others and vice versa. So here for complements, complementary goods. Now, when we look at the substitutes, let us recall it again. When the price of one increases, the demand for the other increases, right? But here, when there is a decrease in price of one, it will result in the increase in demand for the other. For example, let us say, again, if there is an increase, decrease in time of in price of pasta, spaghetti. So I started, if spaghetti was 2 USD, I started to sell it for 1 USD. More spaghetti you consume, and let us say that people consuming spaghetti only with ketchup, right? More spaghetti I consume, more ketchup I will demand, because they are going together. Like when you go to the cinema, you know that what you are consuming there, the corns, right? So if I make the tickets for cinema cheaper, people will buy more popcorns, right? So that's why I can play with the price. What I can do, if I'm smart, like entrepreneur, and if I have my own like cinema, what I will do, I will make maybe sometimes even the tickets like half price, discounted days, or sometimes even I will give for free. But what you can do, you can increase the price of the complementary good, which is popcorn. So people will, of course, they will come for free to the cinema, but they will, let's say, as I say, it's compulsory to buy popcorns. So they will buy that popcorn, even for the higher price, see? Because, and vice versa, if you increase the prices of cinema tickets, the demand for the complementary good, which is popcorn, will decrease. Come on. So, here we have positive relationship, here we have negative relationship, and it is a way, if you are going to, actually economics, guys, again and again, you will use in every aspect of your life. If you are working as expat, or you are selling goods in the wet market, this is always what you are going to use, all these concepts. Now, moving to the next, tastes and preferences. When it comes to taste preferences, the changes in the preference can and do manifest themselves in market behavior a lot. As first, my example, which I gave you, let's say you were consuming beef or chicken or fish every day, and suddenly you decided to become vegetarian. Okay, so after that, even though all that goods will be cheap in the market, you are not going to consume them because you cut consumption of animal products. Within the constraints of prices and incomes, preference shapes the demand curve, but it is difficult to generalize about taste and preferences. It's really difficult because income is predictable and I can measure that. And like expectation, on the other hand, yes, also difficult to measure, but it is mainly interlinked with the political situation in the world, geopolitical things, so forth. But when it comes to the taste and preferences, let us say let me give you my example. By the way, I stayed 10 years in Malaysia. I did my master's, my PhD there, 10 years, yeah. And like for a long time, almost like 4 or 5 years, I never tried durian. I just tried it once. I don't like it. Even though my friends told me that I have to try it 3 times to like it. It's the first time you will not like it. Second time you will start like it. Third time you will love it. I couldn't do that. Even the smell was irritating me. Then, now coming to the taste and preferences, I become pregnant. And one day I was entering the grocery. And while entering the grocery, I saw that it was durian season, that someone was cutting the durian in the middle of the grocery. I said, oh my gosh, I have to buy products, how I'm going to enter now. I cannot stand for that smell. And suddenly I felt that I love the smell. I love the smell. It was a time, and then I bought durian, and I become addicted to durian because of the pregnancy. My taste and preferences changed. See, and I was buying durian after that, whatever the price is, which means that even if someone give me for free, I'm not going to consume it. But now I'm ready to pay high prices. And you know that when it's not seasoned, the price of durian is like, I think it's same like in Malaysia, also in Indonesia, it's not very cheap fruit, right? So that is how you can change. And it is not predictable, right? So pregnancy or vice versa, like you have a perfume which you love, which you agree to spend as much as it's needed. Let us say up to 200 USD for 1 bottle of perfume. But then suddenly the smell of that perfume will start to irritate, depends on hormonal changes. Then even if someone gives you for free, you are not going to use that. And taste and preferences are one of the most difficult factors which can be predicted. So within the constraints of prices and incomes, preference shapes the demand curve. But it is difficult to generalize about taste and preferences. And it is difficult to say, and what we do generally, we go from culture by culture, right? For example, if I will start to sell tofu today in Turkish markets, no one will buy it. Maybe like 1, 2 people, like consumers who want to try something new, or some of our international students. By the way, we have a lot of students from Indonesia who want to cook something, but in general, people will not buy it. Same if I will bring olives into Indonesian market, like market in the like in your town, okay, in your city. Maybe you will buy to just try it, but I will not sell it as I'm selling it here. So as entrepreneur, you have to also be sure that the goods you are going to sell are demanded in the particular market, right? And sometimes, of course, like preferences and taste of the some community will be like 80 to 90% same. Like if every morning Turkish people will eat egg, cheese, olives, and bread, 90%, maybe even more. And 90% of Indonesian people will eat nasi lemak. It's also the same, right? Nasi lemak in Indonesia as in Malaysia. That was the food which we consume in Malaysia for breakfast. See, so the behavior of the community will be almost same when it comes to the consumption. But of course, then we will have products which are kind of universal. Why? You know why? When people travel abroad, they consume McDonald's, even if they don't like McDonald's, because it's something predictable. I know the taste. I know what I'm going to have. rather than opening yourself for risk and trying something which you don't know what type of effect will have on your health. Well, now, a last one is expectations. After income and wealth, the type of goods or changes in other type of goods, which are supplementary goods or complementary goods, and also tastes and preferences, we came to the expectations. So expectation is what you decide to buy today certainly depends on today's prices and your current income and wealth. Increasingly, economic theory has come to recognize the importance of expectation, because people, when they decide to buy something, for example, again, during COVID, you remember that the price of toilet paper was, I think it was everywhere, it's global phenomena, that price of toilet paper increased, right? But people keep buying it because they know that tomorrow they will not have toilet paper in the stores. There will be shortage of toilet paper. So expectation was that there will be shortage. And as a result, I'm buying for whatever price is, even for higher price. So expectation will affect your decision on consumption. It is important to understand that demand depends on more than just current income, prices, and tastes. It's also expectations, okay? Or, for example, I don't need winter outfit today. We have like 2 seasons until winter, but I know that coming winter, the winter clothes will be very expensive. So I will buy it from today on discount, right? That's also my expectation, because I expect that next winter I am going to spend in Turkey, which will be cold winter with heavy snow. So if I am selling you for today for discount, you will buy it. But if my expectation to move to some tropical country coming winter, I'm not going to buy any winter clothes, even though they are 90%, there is a 90% discount, correct? Now, another interesting thing, which will be used also in ISLM model, the shift of demand curve versus movement along the demand curve, right? So demand curve may shift to the right or to the left, or it can also, there can also be moved along the line. Shift of a demand curve, the change that take place in a demand curve corresponding to a new relationship between quantity demanded of a good and price of that good. The shift is brought about by change in the original condition. For example, you become richer, you got you win lottery, or there is also changes in your taste and preferences, in your expectations. All these factors will shift demand curve. Depends if there is if you are getting better or getting worse. On the other hand, the change in quantity demanded brought about by the change in price. So if you remember Alex's curve of demand, the change in price will just decide on how much quantity he will consume. Higher price, less consumption. Lower price, more consumption. So I'm moving along the curve. For example, again, we are moving to the Alex. Shift of Alex demand schedule resulting from an increase in his income. So Alex was having 500 USD per week. It was his initial condition. And now, in our first example, and now Alex got promoted, or he get another job which has higher pay, which is 700 USD per week. Okay, so he has change, positive change, by the way, in his income. Let us see how that will affect his consumption of gasoline. If you remember, when the price of gasoline was 8 USD, he consumed nothing because it was not affordable for him. But now, with the same price, yes. Okay. But now, with the same price, he started to consume 3 gallons per week. Price didn't change. What has changed? He got higher income. Same, when it comes to the, when the price is 7 USD per gallon, his consumption will be 2 gallons per week once his income is 500 USD, and it will be 5 gallons per week once his income per week is 700 USD, so on and so forth. So we see that with the same price, the consumption changing depending on the change in situation, and in this case the situation is the material betterment of Alex, which means that he started to get higher income and prices are same, ceteris paribus, because if your income increases at the same time the prices are increasing, the demand will never change. Your demand curve will stay same. Well, now let us see how it is illustrated in graphical form. So here was our first blue line. Dark blue line was our first demand curve from the income where Alex were getting 500 USD per week, right? Now he has higher income. So all this curve will shift. We will have a new curve, which is this light blue curve. Okay, now Alex is having, he can afford more basically. So once your demand curve is shifting to the right, means your situation getting better. You can consume more consumption with the same price given. But if your situation, if your demand curve is shifting to the left, that is a negative picture. Let us say, yes, Alex's salary was 500 USD, as it is the same, or he, no, because now we are going to shift. The prices of gasoline are same, but suddenly the salary of Alex decreased, or he become like unemployed. Okay, then the demand curve will shift to the left. Shifting to the left means you are decreasing. Shifting to the right means you are increasing, you are becoming better. There is a prosperity at the right. Meanwhile, deficit and shortage and difficult times at the left. Well, when the price of a good changes, we move along the demand curve, as we mentioned, like he has 500 USD income, and meanwhile, if price is 800 USD, he will buy nothing. But if the price is 5 USD, he will buy 10 units of 10 gallons of gasoline, right? So we're just moving here. But when any other factor that influences demand changes, income, taste, expectations, wealth generated, like you inherit 1 million USD from your demised uncle, for example, right? Then the demand curve will shift. So in this case, it shifted from D0, so demand curve D0 to D1. Gasoline is a normal good. Again, if you remember, we shared the good, like split the good into normal goods and also inferior goods. The gasoline is a normal good, so an income increase shifts the curve to the right. Meanwhile, we said that if there is changes in income, meanwhile, the good we were consuming was inferior good, we are not going to consume more. We maybe even will cease the consumption. So now we know the factors which are shifting the demand curve, which are income and wealth, taste and preferences, expectations, and prices of other goods. The price change in the goods that we are consuming will just lead to the move on the demand curve. You have to understand this very good. It's like ABC of economics, which now we will also relate to the ISLM model. So changes in price of a good or service leads to the change in quantity demanded, therefore the movement along a demand curve. Meanwhile, the change in income, preferences, or prices of other goods or services leads to change in demand, which will shift the demand curve, okay? Here, demand for inferior goods shifts left because if once my income increases, I will consume less non-quality goods, all right? So it will shift less, but demand for normal goods will shift right, remember that. Now, shift versus movements. Okay, this one I already explained. I will share with you slides as well, so you can revise the topic. Well, again, when now for the substitute hamburger, price of hamburger rises, quantity of hamburger demands falls. Like if the price rises, then what will happen? All ceteris paribus, all other things being equal, I will start to demand to consume less hamburger. Like in our case, you know, that maybe you already familiar here about this, that we have very high inflation in our country, in Turkey, recent 1 year or recent like 1.5 years. So we really start to consume less. Like if we were we were eating outside like 2-3 times a week before, now we reduce it to 1 time a week and so on and so forth. It were like we were buying more clothes before, now we buy less clothes. We start to, you know, repair the old clothes, and we start to travel less. If we were like flying more before to overseas, now we start to fly less because of prices. So the increase in prices actually changing the amount of consumption. Okay, so basically we are moving here, but the demand for substitute goods, chicken, okay, this one is like, if the price of hamburger rises, the quantity of hamburger demanded declines. This is a movement along the demand curve. The same price rise for a hamburger would shift the demand for chicken, a substitute for hamburger, to the right, and the demand for ketchup, a complement to hamburger, to the left. So less hamburger you consume, less ketchup you will consume. But since chicken is a substitute good, more chicken, and let us say the price of chicken is same, it didn't increase together with the price of hamburger, so you will start to consume more hamburger, right? Tamam. Now, deriving market demand from individual demand curve. Now we are moving slowly to aggregate demand, to the beginning of aggregate demand, which is coming to the market demand. So how we are going to calculate the market demand? We simply will sum up different demand curves. Let's say we have 3 households here: household A, household B, household C. And we have demand curve of these 3 households. And as you see, the most prosperous house in this case is C. And maybe the poorest one is household B, because demand curve actually will tell you a lot about the well-being of that household. Same goes for the country-wise, okay, later on, because when we're going to macro, we will start to look at the same top. Actually, the graphs will be same, the concept is same, but we will look at from the macro perspective. And what is income of country? If income of household is my, I calculate it as my salary and other incomes. For example, I have passive income, let's say I have rent a house, which I rent. So all this money will constitute my income, monthly income, right? And that will decide on how much I'm going to spend. Meanwhile, for the country, what is income of the country? How we calculate the income of the country is gross domestic product, right? It's GDP of the country. Therefore, we will look at the GDP when we talk at the macro level. Now, so we have these 3 families, 3 households consuming coffee per month, pounds of coffee per month. This family consuming can consume like if the price goes to like how much here, I don't know, maybe let us say to £5, this family is not going to consume. But when the price is 3.50 USD per pound, 10.5 USD per pound, this family is consuming 4 pounds of coffee per month for this family. Meanwhile, family B, like household B, and household not necessarily again being family, it can be only one person, but let us use it as a family to make it simpler. If the price is 3.5 USD, the household B cannot afford consumption of coffee at all. So this, at the same price, this household is not going to consume coffee. Meanwhile, the household C will consume 3.5 pounds of coffee when the price is 3.5. But what's the difference between A and C is that when the price goes down to 1 USD and 50 cents, 1.5 USD, the household A or family A will consume maximum. So they can consume at this price 8 pounds of coffee. They can afford only this. Meanwhile, this family can consume 9 pounds of coffee. Okay, so the best well-being belongs to the family C. Meanwhile, the poorest one here is the family B. So total demand. Now it means we looked at the demand curve of these three families. Now we are going to, which is DA, DB, DC, and we will connotate it as a DA plus B plus C, and we will have one market demand for this community. Okay, let us say this community comprised of only 3 families, but of course you can make it for your mahalla, like for 100 families, for 1,000 families, and that's why actually we are making questionnaire when you are making a market survey. Let us say you want to sell coffee in one community. First, you want to see how much people are willing to pay for coffee, all right? And that will also help you to determine how much coffee you are going to export to that community and what should be the price of that product, so many people can afford. So maybe best price here will be 1.5 USD. That's why actually when we will look later, I don't know if I will have time for government interruptions such as subsidies and so forth, so on and so forth, to support the farmers or coffee producers. Let us say in Indonesia, you want to support your coffee producers, then you will help them in some subsidies. There will be no taxes charged on that product. That also some political implications. So total demand in the marketplace is simply the sum of the demands of all the households shopping in a particular market. It is the sum of all the individual demand curves, that is the sum of all the individual quantities demanded at each price. So here we have like at the price 3.5 USD, 3.5 USD, family 1 will consume 4 pounds, family 2 will not consume at all, and second is, so the total quantity demanded will be 8. Meanwhile, for the price of 1.5 or 1.5 USD, first family will consume 8 pounds of coffee, second 3 pounds of coffee, and third 9 pounds of coffee, which will be cumulatively 20 pounds of coffee. And this actually, once, and you know that once you have 2 points, you can derive your curve. Maybe for curve 2 points, we need 3 points, but to derive the line in geometry, you know that you need only 2 points. So this is how we are going to get the market demand. Well, now coming to the next interesting topic, which is supply and product. After supply and product, actually, we will directly move to our topic, and you will see how much they are interlinked. And sometimes, guys, again, when you are starting some new topic, make sure that you understand very good all the previous topics, else it will be impossible for you to build on the to get new knowledge if you don't have the fundamental knowledge. So make sure that you repeat always what your teachers already gave you in previous classes, okay? Now, so we talk about demand. Demand basically was what we consume, how we consume, what are the factors influencing our consumption decision. Now, since we are consuming, someone should produce what we consume, right? So this production, so the production is called as supply. When the firms, now we are not talking about households anymore, we are talking about firms which are creating or manufacturing or producing particular goods and selling them in the market. Now let us see how the graph will change for them. So firms build factories, hire workers, and buy raw materials because they believe they can sell the products they make for more than it costs to produce them. So why you are building a company or firm or factory? Because you believe that once you produce something and sell it, the selling price will be higher than the cost of that good to you. And actually, this is a way how you are making profit. And profit, therefore, is the difference between revenue and cost. Okay, higher is the profit, better is well-being of your company. Well, now, price and quantity supplied, the law of supply. We already see the law of demand, which says that higher the price, less people consume, lower the price, more people consume. That was law of supply, demand. Now, coming to the law of supply, quantity supplied, the amount of a particular product that a firm would be willing and able to offer for sale at a particular price during given period of time. Supply schedule shows how much of a product firms will sell at alternative prices, right? For example, I am producing like this mouse is like some technological items. Okay, I have production of this mouse. So the price I'm willing to say, I will never give it for free to you. At least it should be equal to the cost I bear, because I'm paying wages to my workers. I have to pay rental of my building. I have to pay the bills of my electricity, water, and so on and so forth, right? I have to pay also taxes to the government. So at least the price I'm selling should be equal to the cost. Correct. And now continuing with the what I shift. Yeah. To the law of supply. So law of supply says that there is a positive relationship between prices and quantity of goods supplied, which is logical, right? Because you are going to sell more if the price is higher. Simply that. Yeah, because high price means high revenue for you, which is a higher profit for your company, right? So the positive relationship between price and quantity of goods supplied. An increase in market price, ceteris paribus again, all other things being equal, will lead to an increase in quantity supplied. And a decrease in market price will lead to the decrease in quantity supplied. Let us say, you see that today, fishermen, like price of fish goes up, right? So what will happen today? If suddenly the price of fish go up, people will start to sell more fish. There will be increase in number of fishermen. Fishermen will go to fish more hours to get more fish so they can sell and get higher income or higher revenue profit. Vice versa, let's say the prices of fish suddenly drop. So it will not really worth to go and, like spend your energy, spend your time, spend some gasoline on your boat for go fishing, right? like there are some examples, for example, here, when the price of some agricultural goods, let's say onion or potato, is very, very low, that it's not even there for farmers. Even so, if you want to sell that potato in the market, the price is so low, it's not even covering the logistics expenses. You know what happened? That potatoes will be just left on the field to rotten. That's it. That also happens because producer will always look at the price. So higher the price, higher will be supply of that product. Well, and now supply curve is a graph illustrating how much of a product a firm will sell at different prices. So it is the same with the demand curve. However, now we have not negative slope, we have a positive slope. And the intersection of these two slopes will be market equilibrium, right? So that exact thing we will look also in our SLM model, where we will have also equilibrium. So the concept is very much same. If you well understand this, then we will also well understand the next topic. Well, and here it is. This is the supply curve. Okay, now let us see. We have Clarence Brown's supply schedule for soybeans. So if the price, now we have changes in price, and we see also quantity, and price is, it is the same. Price is vertical axis and quantity is horizontal axis. So if the price of soybeans per bushel is 1.5 USD, 1.5 USD, the supplier, the producer, is not going to supply at all because the price is not covering his expenses. It is higher than his cost, simply put. However, now once the price is increasing to 1.75 USD, the producer going to produce or supply 10,000 bushels of soybeans per year. Once price goes higher, let's say to 3 USD per bushel, then the producer will produce 30,000 bushels per year. If the price goes to 4 USD per bushel, the producer will produce 45,000 bushels per year. And if the price goes to 5, the amount will not change. Why so? Because there is again the capacity of that producer to produce. It can be in the form of land available. If you have, like, let's say just 2 hectares of land, even though if the price will be 100 USD per bushel, you cannot do more because it will be exceeding your capacity, right? So it can be land available, number 1. It can be manpower available, number 2. And mainly it should be resources available. So the maximum this Clarence Brown can produce, the maximum capacity, or the highest capacity they can produce is 45,000 bushels per year. And if price will increase, it still will be their maximum level. Therefore, you will see increase, then there is no changes. It's going stable, right? So a producer will supply more when the price of output is higher. The slope of supply curve is positive. Again, positive correlation means if the value of one variable is increasing, the value of the second variable is also increasing. If the value of one variable is decreasing, the value of another variable also decreasing. So they are co-moving. Simply put, they are co-moving. They're moving together. Once one going up, second going up. Again, as in my example, more you eat, more weight you gain. Less you eat, less weight you gain. This is positive relationship. Meanwhile, negative relationship means once the value of one variable increases, the value of next variable decreases. So the more you go for gym, less weight you will gain. Okay. And we have also concept like perfect perfectly correlate, like perfectly positive correlated or perfectly negative correlation. What does it mean? It means 1-to-1 because the coefficient, the correlation can take maximum is 1. And maximum negative is -1. 0 means no correlation. It means that this factor is not correlating at all. Like, let's say, gaining weight and what can I say? Watching movies. Maybe that is correlation actually, but let us say gaining weight versus what can I say? Number of friends. So it's not correlating. There is no correlation. Okay, it does. I cannot tell you that if you have 100 friends, you are overweight, and if you don't have friends, means you are a slim person. No, there is no correlation. Well, okay, note that supply curve is red. Supply is determined by choices made by firms. Meanwhile, demand is determined by choices made by households. Well, now, other determinants of supply. So the price of the good is main determinant. However, we saw in the demand side that in demand curve, the price will change only the move along the line. Same with supply. The change in price will just lead to the move on the line itself. So the cost of production, for firm to make a profit, its revenue must exceed its cost. It is like a rule of thumb. Cost of production depends on a number of factors, including the available technologies, number one, and the prices and quantities of the inputs needed by a firm, like labor, land, capital, energy, and so on. Well, other determinants of supply, so we have also assuming that its objectives to maximize profit, right? If you are making company, it means factory, building factory, you want to be a rich person, basically, right? So you want to maximize your profit. A first decision to supply depends on one, the price of the good or service. Second, the cost of producing the product, which in turn depends on the price of required inputs, labor, capital, and land. For example, if government decides to increase the minimum wages, that means now you can hire less workers, right? So you can hire less workers, which means that you can produce less. This is the thing. And vice versa. And vice versa. For example, if you have a lot of refugees in your country, suddenly, let us say, like in neighboring country, Indonesia's neighboring country, there is kind of political issues, and people start to refugee to Indonesia. Refugees means cheap labor, unfortunately, but it is like that, guys. So refugees means cheap labor, so you can hire more people for cheaper, and you will produce more, you will have higher revenue, right? Or the government decreased in minimal wages. So it is also another factor. Or capital, you got more capital. That's why sometimes government will support firms by giving them loan with 0%, right? Like non-interest loans, or there will be some subsidies in form of tax reduction, or even eliminating the taxes for some kind of products. That will also lead to the higher capital. So it will, of course, increase the production. And land, like in our example with the soybean, you had like 2 hectares of land, and let's say you bought another 2 hectares. Of course, you will produce more once the resources are changed, right? So the technologies that can be used to produce products, that is another important thing. So you were doing things manual, by using manpower, and suddenly you discover a new technology, a robotics, which can manufacture more things like one robot replacing 10 people, and no need to feed, no need for salary, no need for insurance, so on and so forth. So you will, of course, again, technology, another very much important factor in increasing the supply. And of course, the prices of related products. This is number 3. These all are 3 very much interesting. So shift of supply versus movement along the supply. So same, shift of supply will be caused by other factors. Meanwhile, the movement along the supply curve will be just determined by the prices of the good you are producing. So movement along a supply curve, the change in quantity supplied brought about the change in price. So let us say you are a producer of milk, and today the price of milk like jumped 2 times or 3 times. You'll start to produce more, right? Because you will make more revenue. But if the price of milk will start to reduce, then you will cease consumption, production, sorry. Shift of a supply curve. Now, the change that takes place in a supply curve corresponding to a new relationship between quantity supplied of a good and the price of that good, the shift is brought about by change in original condition. So in economics, again, it's very much interlinked, right? Now, let us see how happening here. Now, again, we have supply schedule for soybeans following development of a new disease-resistant seed trait. So there is a change in condition. Now, what is happening? Again, we have price didn't change, by the way, but we have bushels per year using old seed. There is an innovation in the seed production. So they produce a new type of seed, which is disease-resistant. Okay. So let us see what is happening. Bushels per year using old seeds, bushels per year using new seed. Now, if the price is 1.5 USD, previously, when we were using old seeds, we cannot supply anything at this price. But with new seeds, we can supply 5,000 bushels per year, and so on and so forth. Now we can increase the production because there is a change in the condition. So again, when there is a change in condition, we are going to shift. We are going to shift the supply curve. So when the price of a product changes, the move along the supply curve for that product, the quantity supplies rises and falls. So we are moving here, right? When any other factors affecting supply changes, the supply curve shifts. So now I can supply more. So I shift my curve to the right? So shift of a supply versus movement along supply curve, it is very important to distinguish between movement along the supply curve, changes in quantity supplied, and shifts in supply curve, change in supply. So like in change in demand, there is a change in condition. Change in price of a good or service leads to change in quantity supplied. So this is known as movement along a supply curve. Meanwhile, change in costs, input prices, technology, or prices of related goods and services leads to change in supply itself. This is known as shift of supply curve. So here, a market supply is the sum of all that is supplied each period by all producers of a single product. It is the same what we did for the market demand. So I have 3 firms. I want to understand, for example, in one economy, community economy, what is the supply of coffee beans? Oh, what is the supply of palm oil? Or what is the supply of cotton, or whatever goods that economy is producing? Okay, so what I'm looking at the firm A, which is supplying with the supply curve SA, and here I see that when the price of that goods in the market is 3 USD, that company, that firm will be producing 30,000 units of that good. In this case, it's bushel of soybean. Meanwhile, with the same price, company B, firm B, will produce only 10,000 bushels of soybean. So this is explained by what? Because this firm B, is smaller firm. It has smaller resources. It has less manpower. It has less lands. Okay, so the capital, the smaller capital. So it is a like smaller producer. Then I'm looking to the firm C supply curve. And when the price is 3,000, 3 USD per bushel, this firm is producing 25,000 bushels. So the best production goes for firm A, the less for firm B, and we have firm C in the middle. So what I will do now, same with demand curve, I will add on, like I have two price levels, when the bushel, the production, when the price is 3 USD per bushel, then I have 1.75 USD per bushel, which is second condition. Now I will sum up. It's just simple arithmetics. I'm going to sum up the amount these companies are willing or can produce for a given price. Okay, so I have 3 firms, so this is the amount they can produce for the price of $3, and the total market production will be 65,000. So it means that from this community, if the price is 3 USD per bushel, the maximum number of bushels I can get from that community is 65,000. So this is giving me total market supply or aggregate market supply. So at the price of 1.75 USD, the number I will get maximum will be 25,000 bushels from all these 3 companies. And this is actually their market supply curve. Again, it is simple, right, guys? It's simple arithmetics. You are just adding on. That's it. Now, coming to the market equilibrium. What is equilibrium? It is a point where supply curve and demand curve intersects. That's it. So equilibrium, the conditions that exist when quantity supplied and quantity demanded are equal. It means that if I'm producing 10,000 units of some product, all of that products are consumed. Okay, it is actually a perfect point, which we will never see in real economies. It's just hypothetical point of equilibrium, but it is a point which like point of reference for us. Okay, but in reality, it will never happen. We will see also in ISLM model, when we have point of equilibrium, actually it is a point which will never ever happen. But it will help us to build models. That is another thing when it comes to the economics. We are building a lot of models to predict the future behavior of the market, or when you are deciding if, let's say, in the future you will be working in a central bank in making decisions such as like monetary policies and so on and so forth. So these tools are still useful. Therefore, we are learning them. So at equilibrium, there is no tendency for price to change because whatever I supply, all consumed. It is a like ideal point. Excess demand. Now, what will happen if people will demand more than it is supplied? So it means there is production of one good, but demand for that good is higher compared to the supply of that good. So what will happen in this case? We are talking about the shortage. Let us say like we have community of people of 100 families, for example, households, and each household consuming 1 kg of rice per week. Okay, so we have 100 households in that community, each household consuming 1 kg of rice per week. It means I need to produce 100 kg of rice to reach the market equilibrium. So if producer is producing 100 kg of rice, and there is a demand also 100 kg of rice per week, then I'm at market equilibrium. So what will happen if suddenly the production, depends on some other conditions, will drop to 50 kg of rice per week? Then people who were consuming 1 kg of rice per week have to reduce their consumption to 500 grams, or some people will buy 1 kg, like 50 of them, then the rest 50 will be left without rice for that week. That is shortage. That is shortage, okay? And there can be a lot of other reasons for shortage. For example, if as a producer, I'm selling this product like rice for $1 per kg in this market, but I know that if I will sell this price, let's say for $5 in different market, of course I will export it, right? Of course I will export it, because my motivation is to sell my product for the highest price ever possible. So it means excess demand is known as shortage. Now, here, for example, at a price of 1.75 per bushel, quantity demanded exceeds quantity supplied. So when the price is 1.75, people demand more compared to the supply, right? So this red point is supply, black point on the blue line is demand. So here, people want to buy 50,000 bushels when the price is $1.75 per bushel. However, the firms who produce this good, they are willing just sell 25,000 bushels when the price is 1.75. So this space actually illustrates the shortage. And the shortage here, what we simply will substitute 25,000 from 50,000, which is 25,000 bushels are short, indicates a shortage of that good in that economy. So when excess demand exists, there is a tendency for price to rise. So what supplier will do? Okay, now people want to buy more at this price. It means I have to, and the amount I can sell, produce is just 25,000 bushels for that price. So I will increase the price. I will increase the price when quantity demanded equals quantity supplied. Excess demand is eliminated. So I increase the price from 175 to $2, and here I meet the equilibrium point. At this point, I agree as producer, I'm happy to produce 40,000 bushels of soybean per year, and the consumer also happy to buy 40,000 bushels per year at price of $2. Okay, so here we met market equilibrium. We are agree at the same price. Both of us are happy. I'm happy as a producer to produce this much at this price, and the person is happy as a consumer to consume this much at this price. So it is a perfect point, ideal point. So moving to the next slide, again, I will share the slides with you so you can again study and repeat the topic. What happens if there is excess in supply? So when there is excess in demand, we are facing shortage. So what will happen if there is excess in supply? Then we will be facing surplus. Okay, surplus, like, you know, sometimes because weather conditions are very good, like you will have a lot of harvest of some fruit. For example, let us say suddenly there is a lot of production because of weather condition of mango. Okay, normally if farmers were making, like, let's say 5,000 kg like from 1 hectare per year, now suddenly they started to make 10,000 hectare per 10,000 kg per hectare. So which means that suddenly the production of some good increases due to some other conditions. And there is a lot of mangoes selling on the street, in the market. So what will happen? Logically, price will drop, okay? Because everyone is selling the same product and there is a excess supply of that product. Of course, the price will drop. Or let us say there was only one seller, like, again, there is one type product which is coming from overseas, let us some spices which are coming overseas. And why? Like when you think during the ancient times, I think you know that you read from history books that the price of spices were equal to price of gold. They were so much expensive. They were so much expensive because there were very few people who were bringing this type of goods to sell, right? And they had to go through very dangerous journeys, like on the Silk Road, and there are very many things which will really put there in danger, like pirates and other type of things, right? So once they bring that good to that country, they will sell it for the very high price, which will compensate the risks they bear. But let us say now with our current technology, when there is no khatar or dangers on the way, people just can fly any good anywhere. There is no problem. Of course, there will be more supply of that good, but the price will also drop. You cannot make any more the same profit as you were making when you were bringing that good via the Silk Road and so on and so forth. So the condition that exists when quantity supplied exceeds quantity demanded at the current price. Okay, when quantity supplied exceeds quantity demanded at the current price, the price tend to fall. Now they have to sell it for cheaper, so people will buy. When price falls, quantity supplied is likely to decrease and quantity demanded is likely to increase until again they have to meet somewhere, where that point is known as equilibrium. Price is reached where quantity supplied and quantity demanded are equal. So again, we are going to meet here. So here we have excess of supply. So when the price is 3 USD, supplier wants to supply 65,000 bushels. However, the consumer can afford to buy only 25,000 bushels for that price. Other things being equal, ceteris paribus again. So what suppliers have to do, they will reduce the price, reduce the price, reduce the price until they will come to the equilibrium point where, again, same 40,000 bushels for 2 USD per bushel, where the consumer is happy to buy 40,000 bushels and supplier is happy to sell 40,000 bushels for the price of 2 USD. That's it. Okay, so again, actually, this is the thing which Adam Smith was called invisible hand. Okay, and it is simply explained in subject of economics. Therefore, like my father is a mathematician and he tends to say that mathematics is everywhere. And as economists, I say that economics is also everywhere. So changes in equilibrium. When supply and demand curves shift, the equilibrium price and quantity change. So now we just talk about the changes in price, right? So we were just shifting from here to there. We again meet at the equilibrium point. But what if suddenly the income of the person increases? So at that price, for example, in this case, his income of the consumer allows him to buy 25,000 bushels for the price of 3 USD. But what if his income will increase twice? Then we will see the shift in the curve. in one of the curves, depends where the change. There might be change in both of them. So both of them will shift and we will find a new equilibrium. So here, actually, when it comes to the GDP, the increase in GDP will create a new equilibrium, which is well-being of people. People start to live better. But decrease in GDP and income, per capita income, if there is decrease in that, that will, of course, shrink the consumption. Well, again, now we are looking at the coffee market, a shift of supply and subsequent price adjustment. Before the freeze, see, it means there is something happening. Before the freeze, the coffee market was in equilibrium at the price of 1.20 per pound. So that is S0, right? 1.20 per pound. So initial equilibrium, S0. Here we have our initial equilibrium. Now, what will happen? Demand curve is not changing, by the way. At that price, quantity demanded equaled quantity supplied. So people were happy to buy 13.2 billion of pounds of coffee per year, when the price of coffee was 1.2 USD per pound. So that is equilibrium, right? Now, the freeze shifted the supply curve to the left from S0 to S1. So this one is our new supply curve, increasing the equilibrium price to 2.40 USD. However, okay, equilibrium price is 2.40 USD, but people cannot afford to buy at that price. So if you want to find the equilibrium, the price, it means 1 minute. It means for the price of 1.20 USD, now there is no intersection. So new price will be 2.40 USD. So for supplier to make some profit, the price, equilibrium price will be 2.40 USD, which is 100% increase. And that was the reason of, as a consequence of the freeze, of the natural disaster, kind of natural disaster, right? Sometimes it happens also here. For example, the springs come early, the trees start to give their fruits, and there will be sudden freeze, very low temperature, sharp drops in the temperature, which will damage the fruits. For example, let's say apricots. And that year, the price of apricot will be very expensive. So it means now the price is higher and equilibrium is here, and the amount people wants to buy is lower, right? They still will consume coffee, but now they will consume less at a given price. Okay, so that is what's happening when there is increase in price. Now, coming to the next topic. Now we have covered all important concepts in economics. After that, we can build anything on that. So when it comes to the aggregate demand and aggregate supply, first of all, what is aggregate demand? Aggregate demand is the amounts of real domestic output. Now we are moving to macroeconomics. Okay, if we were talking about household, think the same, what you think about household, but for the country. As again, I mentioned, if the income of the household is their salary or other passive incomes like rentals or dividends they're receiving for the specific period of time, the income of at the macro level, at the government level, national level, is gross domestic product, or GDP, right? Again, the idea is same, just we are now looking wider at the concept. So aggregate demand, the amounts of real domestic output, which domestic consumers, now I'm looking at the nation as a whole, businesses, governments, and foreign buyers collectively will desire to purchase at each possible price level. Now I'm looking at the wider picture. Well, as you see, the price levels and aggregate demand will be the same as demand curve, right? But here I have not my income, but I have real GDP, which will decide on the level of my consumption, of my nation's consumption. So why aggregate demand is downward sloping? The reason will be almost same when we look at the downward slope of the demand curve of the household. So real balances effect, because higher prices reduce real spending power of whole nation, okay? Real spending power. Prices and output are negatively related. So that we learn as the law of demand, correct? In our previous part. So as it is a law of demand, it is valid everywhere in microeconomics, in macroeconomics. So the only thing will be changing is the variables. So there we will have household and quantity. Here we will have again quantity of some goods and price levels of that goods, and also the quantity demanded by the whole nation, our real GDP. Well, because higher prices again reduce real spending power, and that we also know that as it is known as inflation, right? That inflation will reduce your purchase power. Inflation means the increase not in the price of one good, but it is general increase in some group of goods. And that increase should be not one time, it should be constant. Like if, for example, the price of rice increases two times, I'm not talking about inflation. It's not an inflation. It's just increase in the price of rice. I will talk about inflation if the basket of goods selected by the like statistical institutions belongs to government, like we have 400 type of goods here in Turkey, which basically will show the inflation level, the increase in that goods. So like the price of cheese, the price of milk, or what people generally consume, right? When it comes to consumption goods, or price to the price of commuting, public transport, so on and so forth. That should be increased in all of them or most of them, and the increase should be continuing, constant. It's not one-time increase, okay? So that we are talking about inflation of prices, and always inflation, ceteris paribus, other factors being equal, will reduce the purchase power of community in general, and particularly it means your money can buy less. That is happening when your currency is depreciating, right? For example, the price, a good which is imported for $1 USD, it will still be $1 USD, but in my local currency, the price might be changing from 2 lira to 4 lira, for example. Yeah, I become very optimistic, from 20 lira to 40 lira, for example. Okay, so that is what is happening when your currency depreciating. Also, the price of the imported goods will be increasing, which will reduce or negatively affect your real spending power. Well, foreign purchase effect. This is real balance effect. Now, foreign purchase effect. When domestic prices are high, we will export less to foreign buyers, and we will import more from foreign producers. Again, like in my previous example with coffee. For example, if I can sell coffee, I am a coffee producer, okay? And I can sell that coffee for higher price compared, let us say, neighboring country, like in Indonesia and Thailand, for example. I can sell my coffee for 2 USD in Indonesia, but if I want to sell the same good in Thailand, it will be 1.5 USD. So the price in my domestic country is higher. So we will export less. So I will not export my good to the Thailand because I make better profit in my country. Okay. And we will import more from foreign producers on the same time. Like if there is a producer, let's say in Cuba, who is producing coffee, they are also coffee producers, and they are producing coffee for, I can get from them for $1, but at the same time, I sell in my market for $2, then of course I will import from them, right? Therefore, higher prices leads to less domestic output. Higher prices will lead to less domestic output. Actually, this is a politics of China, you know, to make things cheaper and to export more, import less. But in this case, if the prices in your home country are high, then you will export less, import more. Well, and the third thing, now, so we look at the real balance effect, we look at the foreign purchases effect. Now we are looking at interest rate effect. So interest rate effect, higher prices, higher prices lead to inflation, which leads to less borrowing and a lowering real GDP. So higher prices lead to inflation, which leads to less borrowing. What does it mean? Higher prices, if the price of something is going up, it leads to, actually it is itself inflation. It's another name of inflation. When price is going up, it means we are talking about inflation, changes in prices upwards. And that will lead to less borrowing because high prices also of like higher interest rates means less borrowing, because you know that interest rates in conventional finance means the price of money. Simply put, it is a price of money. So cheaper money, more you take it. So if a government wants to boost the consumption of people, they want people to consume, because consumption means growth of economy, right? More you consume, firms more will produce, so more production, more consumption, you are growing, less unemployment, because if firms want to produce more, they have to hire more workers, right? And actually, this is how the nations grow. But, and when it comes to the banking system, low interest rate, it means I'm taking like 1 million, like 100, like now I'm trying to balance between lira and rupiah. Well, let us say you are taking 100,000 Turkish lira from the bank, and interest rates are very, very low, which means that I will repay a very negligible amount as interest. Means money is almost free for me. Actually, this is what happened when you look at the 2008 crisis. The interest rates, when they were low, people start to borrow a lot. Like interest rates were like 1%. So which means that if I'm borrowing 100 USD today, after 1 year, I'm just returning 101 USD. That's it. It's a very small percentage, right? So I'm encouraging people to borrow money, because when you borrow money from the banks, when you want to consume, you will spend that money. Of course, you will not keep it somewhere. You will go to the market and you will buy something, right? You will buy goods, you will buy services, you will start traveling, so on and so forth, because money is cheap. So low interest rates means low cheap money. Cheap money will lead to higher prices. Higher prices means inflation. And then what will happen? What if I will increase the interest rates? Because changing interest rates is one of the monetary policies that the central bankers use. what will happen if I increase the interest rate? It means since interest rate is the price of money, right? Higher interest rates means more expensive money. So people will start to keep their money in deposits in banks, because when interest rates are low, yes, you can borrow a lot for cheap. At the same time, you are not going to save your money, because once you are saving your money, then banks are giving nothing to you. You don't have motivation to save. But when interest rates are high, you have a motivation to save, right? More saving means less consumption. Less consumption and more consumption means less saving. So higher interest rates, more saving, that will lead to so people are saving, they are not consuming, then supplier will start to drop prices to motivate people to buy, right? And vice versa. So that's very interesting equilibrium when you look at the macro level. So when it comes to the aggregate supply is the level of real domestic output available to each possible price level. The level of real domestic output, what firms want to produce in that economy for the given price level. Well, so here we have aggregate supply, and we will classify it again into three categories, which is Keynesian range, intermediate range, and classical range. So now let us look at these ranges. Keynesian range means large amounts of unemployment make it so that increases in aggregate demand have no effect on wages or prices. So large amounts of unemployment make it so that increases in aggregate demand have no effect on wages or prices because of the unemployment. Classical range, full employment makes it so that increases in aggregate demand only increase wages or prices. And intermediate range is some sectors of the economy reach full employment more quickly than others. In intermediate range. So first of all, we can never talk again when we make economic like any type of assumption in economics, we always look at the unrealistic things which will help us to understand the situation, which will help us to create a models. First of all, being like large amount of unemployment, which is possible, not always. Full employment, classical range, is something which is never possible. You will never have an economy with full employment. Simply, there will be people which do not work to work, like in Scandinavian countries. When you have a very good social packages for your citizens, like unemployment wages and subsidies for schools. Even you know that once you have a baby in some Scandinavian countries for 4 or 5 years, especially for 1 year, if I'm not mistaken, the diapers will be given for free. That is just to encourage the growth of population. So that type of packages so will demotivate people to work. So unemployment, full employment will not be simply possible because not always people will be willing to work, or maybe the person is just wealthy from family. He doesn't need to work at all, right? Well, the variables now that shift aggregate demand. So we looked at the move at the demand curve. We also study the variables or factors which are shifting demand curve for in microeconomics when it comes to the household demand. But now we are looking at the aggregate demand. Aggregate demand at the macro level, and what are the factors which are shifting it. It means can make your country better because like being able to spend more actually shows the prosperity, right? It indicates the prosperity of the country. So first, taxes. You can play with taxes. You can increase taxes, you can decrease taxes. Once you decrease the taxes, it will be easier to buy goods. Now I will give you one example. This is one of my final year students from Kazakhstan. He's writing his final year project, FIP. And we are looking at the affordability of buying motor vehicle, which is car, in few countries, like Turkey is one of them, Malaysia is another, Qatar, Kazakhstan, Russia, and Kyrgyzstan. Okay, so we are looking, when you are making model, now you have to decide, okay, I want to see how it is affordable to buy car, for example, in Indonesia. Okay, now I know that in Indonesia, like in elsewhere, like in Turkey, in Malaysia, everywhere, we have people with very different income level. So see, when we are making this model, we have to decide what type of segment of community I'm taking. So we took the middle income class. Who is the best representative of middle income class? Teachers, school teachers, right? Because school teachers in particular country are best representatives of that middle income class. Then what we did, in our study, we want to look what portion of your salary you have to pay every month once you are buying a car. Okay, and now to make it again homogeneous, I cannot give example of Proton because we don't have Proton car here. That is Malaysian production. Yes, it is affordable in Malaysia, but once it reaches Turkey with all its taxes, it will be again unaffordable or less affordable compared to the Malaysian market. So we took one type of car which should be imported in all countries, because I have to also consider taxes, right, on imported goods. So we choose Toyota Corolla as a family car. And now, what we found that, so what I want to show that how much of your income will go to the monthly installment payments, right? So in Malaysia, 19% of the school teachers' salary will go as monthly payment, given that in Malaysia, the the motor vehicle financing goes up to 9 years, okay? Meanwhile, in Qatar, for example, just 10% of your salary will go for the monthly payments of the car. Same car, Toyota Corolla. Then coming to Turkey. What do you think? How much, what is the percentage of one teacher should pay from out of his salary? And you will not believe, but it is 200%. So it means one month salary is not enough to pay for the installment. There should be 2 salaries of 2 teachers, let's say house and wife, and all these 4 years. And for information, the maximum period for the financing is just 4 years compared to 9 years in Malaysia, by the way. So as a husband and wife, you have to work together and not spend on anything else for continuous 4 years to own the car. And that is triggered by many factors. Salary is one thing. Interest rate is another thing. Exchange rate is another thing. And so here now I'm looking at them all together. First, taxes. Taxes on imported goods are very high in Turkey compared to other countries. So taxes will make your people live in prosperity, to make spendings easier, or vice versa, to make it more difficult. High taxes means you will pay more to government, but may be able to consume less. Meanwhile, low taxes will let you to buy more. Like, you know that in some Gulf countries, they don't have even GST taxes. like goods and services taxes. Meanwhile, in our countries, the goods and services taxes are very high. Well, interest rates, another decision maker or shifter of the aggregate demand. As we said, less interest rates will make, lower interest rates will make money cheaper. So you can borrow for cheaper from the bank and spend more, right? And if the price is going up, if interest rates going up, it means you will save more, but borrow less. Confidence in the future of your government, or in general, the political conjunction. So this is another factor which will shift the demand curve. If I have more confidence, for example, I'm sure that next year our country will be prospering, the salaries will be go up, and so on and so forth. I will be easier to spend. But if my belief or expectation is negative, then I will try to save more, consume less, which will also shift the demand curve to the left side, right? Strength of the dollar. Now, actually, this topic I will also cover with you in coming class on 26th of April. Strength of dollar. Why strength of dollar? Why I'm mentioning about the USD? What I'm not mentioning about the other currency? Because USD, or in this case, you can say your strength of your national currency will have a lot of effect of on your demand. National currency. Why? Because stronger national currency means higher purchase power, and vice versa. Weaker national currency means lower purchase power. Like again, for example, like I give you one example, when the price of USD going higher means the price of other products, especially important products, will also go higher, and it will lead to the like lowering your purchase power, unfortunately. And government spendings will be the last point of the aggregate demand shifters. Well, now we will move to the determinants of aggregate demand. From here, then I will move to the our next model, and let us continue this coming week after Eid, where we will cover now all our models. If I will share, by the way, all my slides, and I really encourage you to go through the slides before the class and rewatch this class again before we start our next class, so it will be easy for you to understand new concepts. Okay, Doctor, I think we can finish, and if our students have any questions, we can open the floor for Q&A.
Okay, so we start the Q&A session. Dr. Kamola.
Yes, please. I hope it wasn't too long, and students are still alert. MashaAllah, I'm very happy to see that students are opening their cameras, which we are facing problem with that. Our students never open their cameras, and now we are on online education mode due to the earthquake happened recently in Turkey in February, you know. So this time again, we are on online education mode. Get used after COVID, of course.
Okay, my beloved student, as you heard before from the lecture, you learned a lot about macroeconomics, until you learn about aggregate demand and aggregate supply. So I believe you this interesting lecture also invite interesting curiosity. So if you want to ask the question, please raise your hand. For this session, I'd like to have 3 questions. Any? Julio Kevin? Okay, Rio? Another? Okay. Okay, Deborah.
Okay, the second semester. Also, just now I see Sister Vidya sent message. So students, just second semester. I mean, they are first year students, is it?
Wait a moment.
They are first year students, mashallah.
Okay, Rio, open your mic.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Walaikum salam wa
Salam.
rahmatullah.
Thank you for this opportunity, ma'am. My question is, what the give more big impact in national income between consumption and investment?
Again, please.
What the give more big impact in national income between consumption and investment?
Which is more have the biggest impact between investment and
Consumption,
consumption.
which has a higher impact, either is it consumption or investment when it comes to the national income growth, right? Of course, investment. Of course, investment, because investment means you are going to produce more. And when we are talking about GDP, gross domestic product, we have to produce more rather than, because consumption might be coming from different nations, no problem, as long as you produce. Okay, if you produce more, you can, as we mentioned in one of my slides, if we produce more and we export more and import less, basically the growth of your GDP will be depend on how high is your export, because export you are selling, right, overseas, and you are bringing money to your country. But by importing or consuming, you are what you are doing, you are sending, you are paying, you are selling your giving your money to some other nations. So my answer will be investment. Very good question, and very good. I was really surprised. I was thinking the students are the third or fourth year students. So first year students, right? You are guys just second semester. Very good.
maybe I'll add something from Rio. He see that in Indonesia, our GDP, our domestic product is consists mostly from consumption, not investment. So why this investment is more impactful than consumption? Before we know that consumption is the highest composition of GDP in Indonesia. Maybe you can give me some elaborate explanation.
Actually, it's not only in Indonesia, it's in most developing countries. And again, when we are talking about the macro level, first we have to understand the micro level, okay? Let us say, like, you have two families, okay? One is just consuming, and the consumption might be triggered by taking loans. If you read the book of Robert Kiyosaki, The Poor Dad and Rich Dad, if you didn't read, I really recommend you to read that book to understand between the good loan and bad loan, because all governments will be taking loans, okay? And as you know that they will be taking loans in form of issuing bonds or sukuk in Islamic finance. But again, that all are forms of financing. This is on government macro level. When it comes to the micro level, the borrowing money or getting finances, actually reaching finances, will go through not always your own capital, but also from getting finances from banks, right? As an individual, you will get financing from banks. So you will borrow from banks. It will be good loan, it can be better loan. So investment makes, you are investing your capital in something, that money, okay? That actually capitalism is coming from that point. You are investing your money in something which will generate more money in the future. But unfortunately, in most developing countries, we are consuming nations. We are consuming what is already produced by other nations or other people, okay, or other players in our economy. So when you are growing, if you look to the countries which are developed countries, you will advance economies. All of them are producing economies. They will produce the goods and they will sell overseas. So, but unfortunately, not only in Indonesia, also in our country, in most of our developing nations, most thing we can do is we are consuming. We are getting money. Yes, we are getting funds. Government is giving us some, we are working, we are getting our wages, of course, but mostly what we are doing with that, we are not investing, we are consuming. And that is also the future problem of generating, accumulating huge loans by people. Like when you look at the average household in Turkey, for example, there is no household who doesn't have high loans. That everything is like they have mortgage, they have vehicle loans. So that model you can just shift to the macro level as well. So consuming economies, of course, we have to grow. Every economy will grow. Firstly, what is the percentage of that growth? And secondly, what's the source of that growth? And if we want to have sustainable and prospering growth, we have to invest. And we have to invest into the technologies, like into the, we have to produce not just production of like agriculture goods, like again, but that's also very much important because when it comes to the production of the agricultural goods, we have to also understand that agriculture is the future of the world. Okay, it might be not very much income generating segment today because technologies will make more, but when you don't have, like here our economists say, when you don't have something to eat, you are not going to eat your phone, you are not going to eat your laptop. So producing technology, it is bringing a very high income to the country, leading to the high GDP, improvement in GDP. But when it comes to the other factors, so we have to balance that. We have to balance that. And what you said, Dr. Ishbir, actually that is, unfortunately, the main issue of developing nations. When we consume more, we invest less. Thank you.
Yeah, I believe that answers your question, Rio. Or do you want to add something, Rio?
Rio, yeah.
Yes. So, ma'am, the supply is more important than the demand.
Supply is more important than demand. Demand can come from other nations. Okay, but as long as you have a good supply, you will find demand, and importantly, what you supply. If you are supplying something which is demanded by, especially in international markets, and that means that when your demand is, whatever you supply is demanded, and it can be demanded for the high price, then your income, your GDP will grow. So important what you are supplying, one, where you are selling, and there is equilibrium, because demand, not necessarily, don't think about this at national level, think at a global level. Okay, like what China doing today, for example, not everything China producing is demanded or consumed in their local market. No, mostly what they do, they export. And coming class, I will also explain you how we can manipulate our currency, strength of our currency against USD to help the economies grow. Okay, Rio.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're most welcome.
Okay, we move to the next participant. Deborah, please.
Sister Deborah, interesting name, beautiful name, Deborah.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for the time, ma'am. I want to ask you about technology as one of the determinants of supply. As we know, technology can make more product more efficiently, but also we can must not get rid of the negative impacts or externalities that arise. About your opinion, ma'am, how to deal with the about the negative impacts that come out of every technology? Thank you.
Thank you, Deborah. Interesting question. Of course, everything comes at price. Everything comes at price with the Industrial Revolution. Maybe we can go back there with Industrial Revolution. When we started to build factories, it has a huge impact on the environment. So first, I want to know what type of negative impact, but I believe that the negative impact you mentioned is mostly natural, right, on the nature. For that, actually, we have improvement in technology. For example, we can talk more on the green technology, on nature friendly or ecological friendly. That's why we have this SDG rules where we want to look at the sustainability, because yes, the growth itself, and we see that actually in many countries, Turkey being one of them, when you want to grow using technology and in firms, yes, you will produce more, but there will be a cost. There will be a cost which is polluting your ecological system, right? And that will lead to the diseases, to the fatality of infants. So there are many, many negative consequences. So for that, mostly what we can do, there should be a very good auditing in place. Okay, you are using technology, but how there should be government entity which will be audit and control the firms, and what will be the impact of the technologies. But when you look at the new generation technologies, most of them are ecology friendly. Because again, everything comes with price, dear Deborah, and technology actually, let us say you are just creating machine like AI, right? Today we have shops like stores, we don't have manpower. There is no effect on ecology. However, there is negative effect on unemployment. Right, because more technology, more AI powered tools I'm going to use, it means less people I need. I don't need now cashiers in the stores. I don't need people who will count something. Everything can be done by AI, which is also, yeah, for me, as an entrepreneur or the owner of the firm, it will give a lot of benefit. As I mentioned, I don't have to pay wages. There is no insurance expenditures. These people will not get married, will not have kids. So I have a tool, a machine, which will do everything for me. But I have to also face the other coin. The other side of the coin will be unemployment. More unemployed people in society I will have. I am in danger to have unrest in my country, right? So that, in my opinion, there should be government interruption. So governments should create a balance between that, like hiring these people, creating, like, if you remember, but you are, I hope you already covered the topics. One of the most important topics you need to know to understand the current economic system first is Great Depression in US, started from 1921. You have to understand it very well. What unemployment, how it can happen, what stock markets can lead to, and how we can handle unemployment. On the second hand, the second financial crisis of 2007, 2008, the mortgage, subprime mortgage crisis. If you understand these two crises, actually, you will understand the current economic system together with Bretton Woods system. It was a Bretton Woods conference, which was held in 1940 in US. So these are concepts you need to understand. Okay, then you will see that many things, like you will see the bigger picture. Many puzzles will sit. So for unemployment, as I mentioned, leveraging on AI, leveraging on machine learning will create unemployment, which will lead to greater problems in societies. So here we need government interventions. Also, when it comes to the polluting of ecology. Okay, Deborah.
Thank you for the explanation.
Yeah, most welcome. Sama-sama. By the way, I speak Sikin Bahasa. Okay, I think we have question also from Letminda. Yes, sister. Letminda, cannot hear your voice. Even though you are not muted, but cannot hear you. Now muted. I think Litminda has problem with her mic. Litminda, seems you have problem, my dear, with your mic. Even your mic is open, cannot hear you. Maybe you can write your question. How many days your Ramadan Eid weekend, Dr. Ishwar? Okay, meanwhile, Sister Litminda, Dr. Ishwar, by the way, you are muted also, I didn't hear you. Sister Litminda sent her question. Okay, now I can hear you. The law of demand states that if the price increases, the quantity demanded will decrease, correct? There is a negative relationship, but are there any goods that do not comply with the law of demand? Of course. I mentioned about inelastic demand and perfectly elastic demand. When the price increases, the quantity demanded of the good also increases, or vice versa. When the price increases, the demand increases. That was interesting. When the price of the good falls, the demand for the good also decreases. Let me know, it's interesting question. Actually, we have luxury products, and there is type of demand known as a luxury demand, where people of some class, for example, very, very rich people, okay, they will buy because normally what we do, like normal people, what we do, we go, let us say there is a sale in the store, so like there is sale on clothes, so we buy that clothes on sale, right? We buy more when it's sale, when there is 50% discount, 60% discount, we buy more because it's cheaper. Now, if I was planning to buy one pair of pants, I will buy 2 pairs of pants just because the price is low. But there is also type of consumption. I will send you article, by the way, I will send you one article. I don't know where, I will send to our sister who was contacting me. Very interesting. There is a luxury type of consumption where people, this type of people, but these are very limited number of richest people in the world. They will only buy very expensive things like limited editions, exclusive pieces of, for example, Rolex watches, but very expensive things. And interestingly, these people, if you make the price lower for that goods, these people are not going to buy that, because that goods is a kind of symbol of their royal or like how to say, unique richness. Okay, so we have also this type of demand. That was one of the things we used to think. But and on the other hand, coming to your first question, so second, yes, we have that type, and we call it luxury consumption, where people, very few, like 1% maybe just in the world, will go to buy the most expensive things. On the other hand, when the price increases, there are goods that do not comply with the law. Yes, when the price increases, the quantity demanded of good is not also increased, but we have like that. When the price increases, whatever the price increase, the demand for that good might not change. This we call inelastic demand. Inelastic demand means, like as I give you an example, there is one person who is diabetics and he needs to consume, use insulin every day. So even you increase the price of insulin 100 times, like it's a very absurd example, but even if you increase it too much, like 3-4 times, this person will not, this will not affect, there will be no movement on his demand curve. Actually, demand curve is just like there is no curve, there is a straight line, because he is indifferent to price changes. Whatever the price change, the quantity he will consume will never change. If he needs to use 1 insulin per day, he will keep using regardless the price. Okay, we have that type of good, and this is example for inelastic demand. And also when we learn about substitute goods, less substitute you have for that good, more inelastic will be the demand. If you have no substitute at all, like for insulin, then the demand will be perfectly inelastic, like salt. Can you substitute salt for something else? Today, we are going, like every day, we are using a little bit salt in our food, for example. So if I increase the price of salt 4 times, it doesn't mean that I will start to consume like less. No, I will consume same amount. And if I decrease the price on salt, I will keep consuming same amount. It doesn't mean that if I found salt for free, I will eat salt like with spoons. No. Okay, so the law of demand again is valid for normal goods, because we have also inferior goods, we have luxury goods, and so on and so forth. So that law is valid only and only for normal goods. Okay, thank you. I think now we have question number 4 from Nia Novita.
Okay, thank you, ma'am, for the opportunity. I wanna ask, if we assume a good has only one substitute, then when the price of that good increase and the current price of the substitute good has the same price, then what will happen to the demand curve for the good? Thank you, ma'am.
Nina, your voice is like coming and going. Can you please also type your question? Is it possible to type your question, please? By the way, on the 26th, we will have our next class. We will continue and I will share the slides. Now we will move to our model. We will look at things at a macro level, inshallah. You can also keep your questions to the next class. We can start with Q&A. We can end with Q&A also, as you like. Okay, while waiting for the question of Nina, Dr. Ishbir, so how many days your Eid holiday?
Holiday, less than 1 week.
1 day?
Less.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, somehow.
Very little. Actually, it's Friday. Yeah. Friday, I think same with us. But we don't have classes next week. And there is school holiday as well.
We start holiday on Wednesday, and before maybe Tuesday we will be in class. So it's quite tight schedule this 8.
Okay, I wish to all of you a very happy Eid Mubarak. Enjoy your holidays. Inshallah,
you.
see you after it. Okay, I think Nia is texting her question. Then we can maybe end after Nia's question, right, Dr. Ishbir?
Okay.
End the session.
So, my student, this is the last question.
Because I have another class.
Even if this is the last question, you may save your question for our next class in 26 of April.
26th of April, inshallah. Okay.
Okay.
Now our question from Sister Nia Novita. If we assume a good has only one substitute, okay, then when the price of that good increase and the current price of its substitute has the same price, what will happen to the demand? Where I am? One substitute. What to the demand curve of that good? Okay, if it has one, or even it has at least one substitute, okay, and the price, let us say like this: you have two brands of soy sauce. You have only two brands of soy sauce in Indonesia. Like simple example, you have like brand A, you have brand B. Okay, so if brand A will increase its price, then everyone will keep buying brand B, right? Because it's substitute of that. And what will happen? The quantity demanded, there will be no shift because there is 1 minute. There will be shift. The demand curve of the product A, our first product, soy sauce A, will shrink. It will get smaller. People will demand less of that, and they will demand more of other one. Okay, so they will not buy that product. They will keep buying the substitute product. That's why you should be careful when you are playing with prices of the good which has substitute. For example, we have, that's why, see, maybe I can give you one example here. We have OPEC countries, right? The countries which are petroleum producers. So they can come together and decide on the price of petroleum, because petroleum is one of the products which doesn't have substitute. On the other hand, let's say we are countries, like we are 4 countries or 5, 6, whatever, 20 countries which are producing bananas. And we decided that after today, we are going to increase price of bananas 5 times, because when OPEC will decide to increase the price of petroleum 5 times, the other nations has no other choice but to agree to buy that oil for a price which is 5 times higher, right? Because petroleum doesn't have a substitute. On the other hand, we have banana, and we have like 10 countries producing banana, and we have this banana producers union. So we decided to increase price of banana 10 times. Do you think that other countries will keep buying from us for the price 10 times more? Of course, no, because banana is a fruit which has a lot of substitutes. If I'm not eating banana, I can eat like watermelon or melon or mangoes, whatever else. I will just look what are the benefits, what kind of vitamins banana fruit contains. So I will substitute it. Therefore, when we are playing with price, but when it comes to just one-to-one, so the increase in price of one, when I didn't change the price of another substitute. Therefore, this, for example, when I give the example of soy sauce or milk, the producers of these goods, they will have their own union where they will agree on price. Okay, so if one is increasing, second will also increase, so their demand curve will not be affected. Vice versa, if I'm going to use another item, what will be more affected? Will be more affected the supply curve of the producer of soya sauce A. He will start, because there will be less demand on this on his product, and he will start to supply less, unless he will come down to the equilibrium price. He will be agreed to sell for less. Okay. Yeah. You can also rewatch our video from the beginning where we explain already this topic on the supplement goods. And when it comes to the shifter of the demand curve. Okay, guys, thank you so much. It was nice to see you all today and to be with you today. And inshallah, we will be again together on 26th of April. And thank you so much for your great moderation, Dr. Ishbir. And Eid Mubarak, Samoa. Enjoy your holidays, inshallah, and see you next on 26th.
Thank you very much. Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. All right, everyone, that concludes our lesson for today. We have a meaningful and wonderful lecture today. We learned a lot, and we have a lot of example about food. Yes, even if we talk about food, please be sure for you who's fasting now. Do not break your fast yet. We still have about 2 and 30 minutes before we break fast.
We have more fast. We have 7 hours.
Okay, thank you everyone. Thank you for coming. Thank you very much, especially for Dr. Kamola.
Most welcome.
We will meet again on next week after 8 on
Inshallah.
26 April.
Inshallah.
Thank you everyone. Goodbye.
You're most welcome. Assalamualaikum. Take care. And happy buka puasa.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you, Miss.